Wilmar, you give us so much, but I would love a little less. Just try less.
Hey everyone, welcome to Ajay Discusses Movies, a show in which I discuss movies both old and new. It's been a while since I've last talked to you. The last time I actually did talk to you was Marty Supreme, which is an amazing film. Go check it out if you haven't already. But I'm logging back in to recap this past year in film. Usually the first week or two of January is often the slowest of the releases for new films. So I've decided to just recap this past year in film. Overall, in terms of my thoughts on 2025 in the year of film, it's been an improvement. I actually thought this past year in film was good. We saw newer filmmakers being able to take the reins, but more importantly, we've seen experienced filmmakers do something different and outside the box. You know, if we go back in February and March, we saw Steven Sodebergh release 2 films month after month, just 2 different films of 2 different unique genres with entirely different ensemble casts. And we've seen other filmmakers also take it to different heights, whether it's Richard Linklater with Nouvelle Vogue and Blue Moon, whether it's Guillermo del Toro, Wes Anderson, P.T. Anderson, and obviously these budgets range from, smaller movies to obviously big budget films such as the P.T. Andersons of the world. But we've seen a resurgence in independent filmmaking, and I think that is a good step for this next year in film. Also, we've seen a resurgence in comedies, which I thought was amazing. We've seen the films such as Novocaine and Hell of a Summer, the Naked Gun movie as well, that star Pamela Anderson, as well as Liam Neeson. So it does feel as if there's a return to normalcy within the theater experience, and I think that is a good sign. Obviously, there are negatives in this past year, and that's been quite well noted, but in terms of the positives, that is where I kind of want to start off with in terms of the state of the filmatress. Obviously, the negatives, there are a few negatives in terms of this past year in film. I do feel as if one of the bigger negatives is the use of AI and how it's being not only used within films, but taking away jobs as well. This is something that, the SAG union really tried to work on post-COVID or during COVID, but it feels as if, not to say that was not a fruitful endeavor or that their work wasn't needed, but it does feel as if these studios just have completely forgotten that, and that they're just using AI. There was a recent article, I think, where Kevin O'Leary said, and Kevin O'Leary was the star in Marty Supreme, where he said they could have replaced all those extras with AI. And to see an actor for a film that's more or less going to be nominated for Best Picture to say that publicly, that is an issue. Obviously, people don't like Kevin O'Leary. I understand that. I'm well aware of that. But at the same time, to see an actor within a Best Picture nominated film to say that does not create good vibes for the industry, and that is not good. So there are a few negatives as well in terms of this past year in film. I do think that, let's just get into the elephant in the room in this situation, which is that Warner Brothers might be picked up by Netflix. Right now, it's currently oscillating between Paramount and Netflix. There is, sort of oscillation between those two groups buying Warner Brothers. Right now, Paramount has Trump within their corner, and they'll be pressured by Trump to buy Warner Brothers. Whereas with Netflix, they have the capital, they have the money, they have Ted Sarandos, and they're really trying to make and claw their way into not just buying Warner Brothers, but also destroying the theatrical window. I think either Ted Sarandos or one of the bigger wigs within Netflix said that they want to trim the theatrical window of releasing films within 2 weeks. And that's just not enough time for films to make their money. Their purpose is to squander theaters and to destroy theaters. When you have a film that's in theatrical distribution, you want it to be spread by word of mouth. There are several films that were released this past year that made its money back through word of mouth, whether it is weapons, whether it's Roofman. Even though Roofman didn't really make that much money in the box office, it still made money because of the fact that people went out to see it and they told their friends about it. Caught Stealing as well, even though Caught Stealing didn't really make its money back in the box office. Novocaine. I think Novocaine was successful due in part because of the fact that people talked about the movie. So when you hear these individuals, especially within the industry, say that they're trying to trim the theatrical window down, that's not good for movie goers like us. You know, if you're watching this video, you are a movie fan, and more importantly, you value the movie theater experience. And obviously, I'll talk a little bit about like the industry. I'll put it in quotes because I'm far removed from it, but there are chapters within this video. So if you don't want to watch this segment of it, then definitely click out of it and go to my top 10 movies of the year, or maybe even the worst movies that I've seen in this past year. Don't worry, I won't judge you. So, yeah, it is very scary. I mean, I'm very scared about the future of cinema and the future of movies played within theaters. I mean, if the F1 success proved anything, is that hopefully Apple Films and people that, or companies that did make their money through streaming, maybe they will value the theatrical experience once they see that money can be made in it. But at the same time, like, that was nearly a $300 million movie, and the chances of that happening ever again is slim to none. I don't know. I just think that there are a lot of questions than answers when it comes to the future of movies and the future of theaters. But what I can say is that this was a good year in film. I think you can definitely look at the negatives. I mean, when it comes to Paramount Skydance and how they're so locked step with the Trump administration, it is a little scary, a little dicey, if I may say so myself. I mean, there was a report where they said that they were trying to make a Rush Hour, that the Trump administration wanted to make a Rush Hour. And don't get it twisted. Like, the Rush Hour films are highly entertaining. They're fun to watch. But when it's state media like that, it's just not a movie. It becomes something more nefarious and evil, especially when a regime or an administration is attached to it. Anyways, I'm jumping all over this place, but we'll talk about Skydance. We'll talk about Paramount, and we'll talk about David Ellison as well. I mean, these are the boogeymen. Like, these are gross individuals. I mean, David Ellison, I remember back in 2006, he was starring in a film called Flyboys with James Franco.
After show in LA.
And now the fact that he's like owned a piece of the media landscape or the entertainment landscape is just absolutely crazy to me. I mean, I think when it comes to Paramount, I mean, that's the one sort of distributor, I would say, the one sort of company that's in Hollywood right now where I'm very skeptical and dubious of, because they're trying to really appease middle America. I don't know if it's going to be successful. There was an article, I think, published in Variety, maybe, or The Hollywood Reporter, where they said they wanted to have Timothée Chalamet star in a motocross movie. I just think that if Chalamet accepted that role, then he would be typecasted as like, oh, he's just the biopic guy. He's just the guy that plays other characters within history that has a drive and an attitude and has something to prove to other people. And I just don't think Chalamet wants to do that. And plus, I do think that Chalamet realizes that at a certain time or at a certain extent, he just risks the chance of being overexposed when he does those films. So, I don't know. I mean, I just think that right now there is a bleak sort of outlook in terms of what's going to happen within films. And I do feel as if the people in charge don't really know what's good or what can make money. I mean, maybe I'm just saying this out of my brain, but I did read that Paramount's trying its best to sort of get middle America to watch their films, and that's part of the reason why they want to make like these sort of extreme sports movies such as motocross, which is such a gross misunderstanding of what the country wants. I mean, maybe it's just me, but I think the country wants something that like challenges them, not something that is just made for the lowest common denominator. It's fine if it's like a lowbrow comedy movie, but to like make movies that just placate to a portion of the country that you think is there when in reality isn't, I just think it's dumb. I think people in middle America or people within flyover America, or however you may want to say, I think they have the same interest in movies as people that live in the coastal states of this country. I just don't understand the rationale behind trying to tailor every movie to what they want. People don't know what they want until they see it. They just don't. So why not just make the movies that you find to have an interest, put money in it, hire the right people, get the right people, and then make that movie. I know it's easier said than done, but when I hear reports of that nature coming out into the press, it does rub me the wrong way. So anyways, I know I spent a little bit of a chunk on Paramount, but let's get into Disney, because Disney had a year. Okay, Disney had quite the year. Yes, they made money through several of their films, such as Zootopia 2 and Avatar: Fire and Ash, both films that I've yet to see in theaters. But it wasn't the best year for Disney. Whether it was the live-action Snow White film, which I've yet to see, Captain America: Brave New World, which I will mention again later on in this episode, whether it was Tron Ares, the financial critical disappointment that was Tron Ares, and just the rushing of Avengers Doomsday with not only the leaked trailer, but also the teaser that essentially brought back Chris Evans. It's been a rough year for Disney. I don't know what's to come for Disney. I know Doomsday's coming out later this year. I can't say I'm excited for it. It seems hastily done, seems extremely rushed. I remember seeing the post-credit scene in Fantastic Four where they shoehorned in Doctor Doom, and I thought to myself, this will be a train wreck. I'm literally like tearing up when I say this. My throat's choked up when I say this. It's been a rough year for Disney, and I don't know what's to come for them. They've had a few stellar years of just financial success, and you could arguably say that this year was also a success as well if you just look at box office numbers. But again, I just think that they're just throwing everything against the wall and seeing what sticks, and I just don't think that is a proper way of handling one of the biggest studios, if not the biggest studio within Hollywood right now. For a while, it seemed as if Disney had its head on straight, that they were willing to not just make risk, but also have a game plan attached to it. And it feels as if there's no game plan attached to Disney as of this moment in time. And maybe that will change. I hope so. I mean, I think if anything, if this can teach Disney to focus more on making original films as opposed to, say, big IP-driven films that was once a certainty that it would make its money back in the box office, but no longer is there because of the economy and just the fact that people's wallets are getting thinner and that they're really focused more on spending their money wisely instead of just throwing their money for whatever Disney product will come out next. If this teaches Disney to like refocus and regroup itself, then it's going to bounce back. But I just don't think that they can just do 2025 again in this year and expect a different result. I just don't think so. You know, it's like expecting Mike Tomlin to win for the Steelers in the playoffs. You know, it's just not going to happen. I'm really going with it with these references right here. But anyways, let's talk about Warner Brothers. Obviously, we've sort of discussed it or alluded to it earlier with the talks of Warner Brothers being acquired by either Paramount or Netflix, but they had a year. I mean, let's just call it like it is. Warner Brothers, I thought, had one of the best years in film for 2025 in terms of distributors, in terms of productions that not only made its money back, but were also critically successful. I mean, you had Sinners, you had F1, Weapons, as well as the Minecraft movie as well. Even though I didn't watch the Minecraft movie, you had the Minecraft movie as well. This was the year for Warner Brothers. I know people don't want to give David Zaslav his credit, but hey, I mean, he was able to invest and finance these films. And even if he wasn't able to finance these films in terms of the production aspect of it, he still was able to distribute these films to a wide audience, to a general audience. I mean, he's one of the main reasons why we got Bong Joon-ho a blank check movie. And yes, is he bad? Like, of course he is. Of course. He's trying to sell one of the most storied businesses within Hollywood to a streaming service that airs Jake Paul fights. Yes, absolutely. It's gross. It's hideous. It's the wrong way of viewing art. But at the same time, he made these films, or he was able to put money in these films. And you got to give credit where credit is due. Yes, it does seem as if he was just trying to inflate the value of his own company so that he can sell it off to a higher price. It's no different than how like athletes will all of a sudden in their final contract year will just inflate their numbers to seem as if they're more valuable than they actually are just to get a better contract. It's no different than that. So in a lot of ways, yes, it's great that he made these films. At the same time, I can see the real reason as to why not just those films made money, but the reason as to why he made them. So yeah, all that is to say, it's been a rather hectic year within films. A lot of these companies don't really know what they're doing. They just don't. I think I heard Anthony Jeselnik, go watch Anthony Jeselnik. I heard him on Joe Dante's podcast where he says investing in movies or putting your money into movies is a lot like owning a restaurant. Like, you're just not going to make your money back. And it's true. In a lot of ways, it's kind of true, especially when you see the numbers for these films that you know are good, but the average general audience just doesn't watch them, either because the economy is too tough or because these films aren't being marketed correctly. It's just a tough year in general this past year for a lot of people. So all that is to say, it's been a crazy year in film. I enjoyed this past year in film. It felt very diverse in terms of its storytelling. It felt like it was a return to form, to original storytelling. And I'm excited to see what's to come in 2026. So, without no further ado, let's get into my least favorite films of this past year. I think I briefly discussed them in terms of the films that I thought were pretty bad earlier in this podcast, but let's go into some of my least favorite films of this past year. And again, this is in no particular order, and this is not top 10, and I'm not going to rank them because who am I to rank the top worst films of the year? I'm not Jeremy Johns. I'm not going to do that. I'm not. I don't have a red background behind me or just put on blackface to discuss Blade. I'm not going to do that. But what I will do is talk about some of my least favorite films or some of the worst films of this past year. In no particular order, we'll just go from the first one all the way to the last film that I truly didn't enjoy. All right. Tron Ares is going to land in my top worst films of this past year. I just thought it was incoherent. I thought it was rather a typical movie. It didn't really offer anything new or insightful. Jared Leto being in the main role, I felt did more to turn people away from watching the film than actually watch the film. It was just a rather boring approach to Tron, and that's not what you want to see within the Tron franchise. I mean, everyone felt miscast, whether it was Evan Peters, Hassan Minaj. It just felt like a boring movie. I mean, yes, the music was great. Nine Inch Nails had one of the best soundtracks of this past year. It just felt like a boring movie. Jurassic World Rebirth, also didn't like this movie, and I'm not going to add any trailers to the. It's going to take way too much time, too much bandwidth on my computer. Not going to do that. I'm going to add the posters here. So, Jurassic World Rebirth. Yes, Scarlett Johansson is great in this film. Yes, Jonathan Bailey served his role, and Mahershala Ali, all great people, all great actors, but it just felt like every other Jurassic World film with a lot of product placement. The amount of product placement in this film would make Michael Bay give a standing ovation. It was just too much product placement in this film, and as a result, the film suffered because of it. It was just it just felt tedious to watch, and that's not what you want to say when you watch a Jurassic Park related film. It just felt like that. So, Jurassic World Rebirth definitely falls on that list. Shelby Oaks, Chris Tuckman, what are we doing? Are you going to put another gambling ad in the middle of your video? Why? Like, why? What happened to you? I looked up to this man, by the way. I really liked Chris Stuckman reviews back when I was in high school. I was like, oh, another guy that grew up in a, religious household that wasn't able to watch certain films and, found his way to sort of go against the grain by talking about films of that nature within his review and having a genuine sense of enthusiasm and appreciation for those films. I liked it. I wanted to like Shelby Oaks because I like Stuckman, but it was a rather typical approach to a horror film. You couldn't really see anything in this film. It felt like it was shades of Wolfman in that film. The acting wasn't great. I'm sure it made its money back, but it didn't really incite anything within me to further watch it. It just felt like a typical horror film, but just done horribly. I don't know how else to describe the film, but it just felt like a really, really strenuous watch. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what's next for Chris Stuckman. It feels as if his channel is just dying a slow death, and that's grand for me to say. I mean, look at this channel, but it feels as if he's just directionless, and that's not good. It's just not a good way of looking at it. So yeah, Shelby Oaks definitely. Death of a Unicorn I also didn't enjoy as well. Jenna Ortega is getting on my nerves. She just is. I just can't. I mean, listen, I don't hate her. I think there is a market for her. I do think people do like her, and for good reason. I mean, she did star on Wednesday, and she does play the, neurotic goth chick well. I mean, she's basically just playing the revamped version of Natalie Portman in Garden State, just with black hair. That's just Jenna Ortega's character. But yeah, I just didn't find the movie fun or enjoyable. They wasted a Will Poulter performance. It felt like a Jurassic Park film, but just with really bad screenwriting. And yeah, I just didn't like that film either. And finally, Honey Don't. I really didn't like that film. Really bad film. Listen, I like Aubrey Plaza. I like Margot Qualley. They've proven that they can give good performances. It falls on the writing. It falls on the Coen sibling for not really making a good film. There's that really famous tweet that says, it's funny to see two directors branch out and you can see which one was the talented director or which one had the sauce. I'll probably put it right below where the microphone is, where the SM58 is. But that movie is a testament to that tweet. It was just a tedious watch. It felt it felt like it was trying to be very ambitious, but didn't know how to stick the landing. Every character in this film is just borderline reprehensible. Every kind this film is borderline reprehensible. It felt very much like a 2016 to 2020 movie that was trying to be Le Resistance instead of really giving something that was substantive and really showed the I don't know, gritty aspects of living in life. I don't know. It just felt like it was a boring movie. I think that's the most damning thing you can say about it, is that for a Coen movie, it was neither fun nor, I don't know, absurd enough for me to really dig into it. So those are some of my least favorite movies of 2025. Obviously, I'm not going to rank them because just talking about them was torturous enough. So I'm not going to rank it. Instead, we'll go into our top 10 films of 2025. So before I get into my top 10 films of 2025, a few honorable mentions: Bugonia, Eddington, Caught Stealing, Hamnet, Phoenician Scheme. These 5 films are great. Sinners as well. I forgot Sinners. Can't forget Sinners. These films are great, and I'm happy to see that people love them. At the same time, they're not in my top 10. Just not in my top 10. I'm going based off how many times I've seen these films, how much happiness it has instilled in me, and also what I consider to be the top 10 best films of 2025. So this is my list. If you have your own list, put your list down in the comment section down below. Let's get it popping down there. It's been rather inactive, so let's get it popping down there. And I'm interested to hear your top 10 films of this past year. So without no further ado, let me discuss my top 10 films of 2025. First film we're going to discuss, number 10, will enter in with Novocaine, starring Jack Quaid. I love this film. I thought it was amazing. It stars Jack Quaid as Nathan Kane, as this individual that doesn't feel pain, and with the robbery of not only his bank's dollars, but also a teller who he has an interest in, or a romantic interest in, it devolves into this action adventure comedy film with some amazing performances from Jack Quaid, Amber Midthunder, Ray Nicholson, as well as Jacob Batalon. This was a great film. I loved it. Yes, I know it may not be on many people's top 10 list, but this was what got me the most amount of enjoyment while watching a movie. This was one of the best theatrical experiences I've watched in this past year. Honestly, quite honest to God. Number 9, Roofman by Derek Cianfrance. I truly enjoy this movie. This man was responsible for films such as Blue Valentine and Place Beyond the Pines. But what he was able to do with this film is that he was able to make it fun and enjoyable that didn't necessarily lean on the gritty aspects of those films. He was able to make a light, fun-hearted movie with a lot of great, emotionally impactful performances from Channing Tatum and Kirsten Dunst. But he was able to have fun with it. And it's extremely funny. I watched this in a packed-out movie theater, one of the closest movie theaters that is near to me, and everyone was just fully invested in the movie and in Channing Tatum's role. Number 8, Black Bag, directed by Steven Soderbergh. It is my 8th best film of the year. Stars Michael Fassbender and Cate Blanchett. It's a spy thriller film in which both individuals work for an intelligence agency, and they believe the other person is complicit in those documents, those files being released out into the open. Great performances, great ensemble cast. It's not as convoluted as you may think. It's not it's not a difficult movie to comprehend, nor is it a difficult movie to understand. I felt like when I left the theater, there were a lot of people that were talking to their significant others and said, yeah, it was fine, but I didn't understand it, which makes no sense to me. I thought this film was great. Definitely go watch it for the performances. It runs at an hour and 35 minutes. It's great pacing. Go watch it. You will not be mistaken if you do. Number 7, Warfare, directed by Ray Mendoza and Alex Garland. This film was brutal to watch, but it was fun to watch. It was brutal, but fun. It stars Charles Melton, Will Poulter. Again, a really solid lineup of stars. I think Noah Centineo was also in the movie as well, Joseph Quinn. It stars a bunch of these American soldiers that go into Iraq, and they're trying to accomplish nothing. And then all of a sudden, a bomb goes off in their home, and chaos ensues from there. It is the most anti-war, pro-war movie I've ever seen in my entire life. And it's dark to watch. At times you question our involvement in Iraq, but it was fun. It was a great movie with some of the best performances you'll ever see on screen this year. Number 6, Weapons, directed by Zach Cregger. Cregger is 2 for 2, maybe 3 for 3, honestly, if you include Miss March, which I would.
Oh, you're pooping.
This is an amazing film. A bunch of classmates go out in the middle of the night, never return home, and it's just a great movie about the importance of spending time with one another, of enjoying the moments that you have with your loved ones. Julia Garner gives an amazing performance. Josh Brolin, that scene in which he gives like this emotionally gut-wrenching scene to a child of his was one of the best acting moments of this past year. Just incredible performances from the top down. I even think the cinematography was great as well. The pacing was also quite stellar, and the narrative structure within that film was scintillating to watch, and it really tied loose ends by the end of it. So yeah, number 6, Weapons. Thought it was a great film. So without no further ado, let's get into my top 5 films of the year. Number 5, No Other Choice. This is a dark comedy film to the best of its term. It is a film made by Park Chan-wook that stars Lee Byung-hun as this individual that is hell-bent on acquiring a job, so he kills out the other applicants to get the job. And it's basically a satirical lens of a ultra uber capitalist world. Maybe it has some parallels to our world. But it's a great movie that really details just how far you're willing to go to grant security and stability for the people that are in your life and for also yourself as well. I thought it was an amazing film with some of the best writing, some of the best performances. And again, as I mentioned before, it's darkly comedic. There's that moment in which, and it's in the trailer as well, where he's like taking out gloves and he just reveals a gun. That entire scene was just amazing. And it's one of the main reasons why it's in my top 5 as well. So, No Other Choice, go watch Park Chan-wook's recent film. Sentimental Value by Joachim Trier. That's my number 4 film of the year. Also, very funny. There's that moment in which Stellan Skarsgård gives his grandson a copy of The Piano Teacher, and I think also Irreversible as well, if I'm not mistaken. Funny moment in that film. Great moment in that film. Thought it was amazing. That film is just had some of the best performances of this year. I know I sound like a broken record at this point, but Renate Reinsve, Elle Fanning, hopefully I'm saying Reinsve's name right, but great film, Swedish film. And it felt as if the audience was very well invested in that film when I watched it in the theater as well. So, number 4, Sentimental Value. The ending really tied loose ends for me. And it was one of the few films where I actually had a tear come down my eye. I'm not proud to admit that, but it is one of 2 films. The other film I'll discuss later on. But it is one of 2 films in which a tear literally came down my eye when I watched the ending of the film. Number 3, Marty Supreme, directed by Josh Safdie. Dream big, because everybody wants to rule the world. Great movie. Love the soundtrack by Daniel Padden. Loved the cinematography by Darius Kanji. Star-studded cast with some incredible performances by Chalamet, Odessa Zion, Gwyneth Paltrow, Tyler Okonma, otherwise known as Tyler the Creator. It felt like a more sort of pronounced, more sort of elevated Uncut Gems in a lot of ways. I've watched this film twice in the theaters. Honestly, I might edge this over Uncut Gems. I might. Just a tad bit. I might just prefer this movie over Uncut Gems a little bit, because I can see myself returning to this film more than, say, Uncut Gems. And that shows the maturation of Josh Safdie's work, all the way from Daddy Longlegs in 2009. It shows just how far Timothée Chalamet has gone to not just market this film, because the marketing for this film has been absolutely stellar. Not just with Chalamet being in an SD Kid music video, but also with him in Brazil doing the Soulja Boy Crank That video dance, as well as the other antics that he's done to market this film. The Jenner, the Kardashianification of Chalamet is almost there. He's getting Kardashianified sooner than later, if not already. But this is an amazing film. I loved it a lot. Chalamet should definitely be in contention for winning Best Actor at the Academy Awards. If they give it to Leo, I would understand why. If they would give it to, I don't know, any other people that are nominated for that category, the announcements have not just come out yet, but if they gave it to Chalamet, I would understand why, because he gives an amazing performance, a heartfelt performance, a genuine performance. He plays the anti-hero correctly. No differently than Louis Bloom and Patrick Bateman. He plays the anti-hero character to the best of his abilities, and he swings for the fences and he gets home runs. That's Chalamet in this film. It's a great film, and by the end of the film, it just hits you with a ton of bricks. That needle drop of Tears for Fears is just incredibly stellar, and I can just go on and on about that movie, but I'll stop it there. So yes, Marty Supreme at 3. Number 2, Bong Joon-ho's Mickey 17. When this film first came out, there was a lot of division within critics. A lot of people didn't enjoy this film. But there were that enjoyed the film. And I think over the next few years, you'll see this film develop, if it hasn't already, develop a cult following. This was the best Star Trek film, best Star Trek episode I've ever seen in my entire life. I truly love this film. Robin Pattinson gives an amazing performance in this film. Naomi Ackie, when she gives her monologue by the end of the film to Mark Ruffalo's character, who's basically just doing a Trump impression, it's stellar. It's iconic. It is just great, and it is a film that you got to watch in the theaters, because by the end of it, you do tear up a bit. When that needle drop hits of, Mickey 17, Mickey Barnes hits, when it gets the end credits, I did tear up by the end of this film. This was one of the only 2 films that I watched this past year where I did tear up. So, Mickey 17, go watch it. Great performances. Great cinematography by Darius Khondji. We've mentioned him before. He did the cinematography for this movie as well. Definitely go watch it. And number 1, my number 1 film of 2025. Drum roll, please. There's only one correct answer for this. Paul Thomas Anderson's One Battle After Another. It's a nearly 3-hour film, and it deserves that runtime, in my opinion. It's just a great film. P.T. Anderson is able to do what few others are able to do, which is create a politically tense film that borrows from Thomas Pynchon's work in Vineland, but is able to flesh it out in a way that very few directors could do, or even muster at accomplishing. He's one of the main reasons why, Killers of the Flower Moon was good. Killers of the Flower Moon had extensive rewrites, partially and due in part because of P.T. Anderson stepping in and helping out Scorsese, as well as rewrites to Napoleon. P.T. Anderson has done it again. What Abbey Road is to the Beatles, this film will be for P.T. Anderson. Back when the Beatles were an active band in the 60s, people often associated their best album as Sgt. Pepper's, right? That's what they assumed was their best album. And there's still a fraction of people that do believe that as well. But this, to me, is their work. This is his most elevated, most pronounced work. His the work that I would associate with him at his most mature. And the performances are amazing, whether it was from Leo DiCaprio, Chase Infinity, Tiana Taylor. She just recently won the Golden Globe for Best Actress. Benicio del Toro as Sensei. What a lovable character that guy is. And not only that, but this entire film is just as politically prescient as it is today as it was back in the 60s or 70s when this film took place in. Just an iconic film that will be talked about till the end of time. The hype is real. The commercial acclaim or the critical acclaim that it's gotten is worth the movie. It just is. So those are my top 10 films of this past year. This has been an incredible year in film. Maybe I just talked myself into it being an incredible year in film. Yes, there are a lot of blind spots. Yes, there were a few negatives. You can definitely look at the use of AI and say, okay, maybe, just maybe the Hollywood system is crumbling. But then you see a one battle after another. You see a Weapons. You see a Marty Supreme. You see even films that were outside of my top 10, such as Bugonia and Eddington, and you realize, no, there's still power within the creator. There's still power within the creatives. And while AI might be inevitable, it's not going to be a means to an end. And it certainly won't replace the talent that we see on screen and behind the camera as well. It just simply won't be able to capture the human emotion as well as these creators have been able to do this past year. It just won't. So I'm a glass half full kind of guy. I like to think on a more optimistic kind of lens. And hopefully we're able to see a continuation of great films that we've seen in this past year. But I'm holding my breath. I really am, because I can only hope for the best. And if you guys feel the need to put your top 10 films down below, let me know. If you want to discuss any of the topics that I discussed, whether it's the Warner Brothers acquisition or whether it's Disney and, what's going on with the MCU for 2026, let me know as well. But otherwise, that has been our discussion. I'll definitely return sooner than later. I don't know when, but hopefully it will be a movie that is well worth watching. So I'll see you guys soon. That has been our State of the Film Address.